Hi everybody, it is Carolina Cooney here from the Oak Bluffs Public Library, and it is time for Cooking with Carolina Live. We do this every Saturday at 5 o'clock, and it is sponsored by the Library Friends of Oak Bluffs. They provide me with all the ingredients to make these wonderful dishes, or at least attempt to, in the comfort of my own home. So tonight we are working from a cookbook that I just happened to come across. I was looking for a new cookbook to work from, and I went into the stacks because I'm lucky enough to be able to go into the library occasionally, one day a week, and I can look for new cookbooks then. So this one just happened to catch my eye. I guess it was very, very basic, and I thought, Vietnamese. I haven't made anything Vietnamese for a very long time, and maybe only once or twice before. So it sounded like something worthwhile to look into. It sounded good. And of course, here on Martha's Vineyard, you cannot get Vietnamese food. So the one that I am going to make, also it's by Charles Fan, the chef owner of the Slanted Door, which is in San Francisco, and I have actually been to the Slanted Door before. So that made it all the more exciting. The dish I'm going to make is lemongrass chicken. And there's the picture. The picture actually isn't all that appealing, honestly. We'll see if I can do better. But still, I think it's going to be tasty. Lemongrass is used in a lot of Vietnamese cooking, but this recipe is one of the most popular dishes that calls for it. In Vietnam, lemongrass is used in two different ways. It is used as an aromatic, cut into large pieces and smashed for simmering in soups, curries, and stews like bay leaves. It is also chopped so finely that it looks like granulated sugar and then added to dishes where it contributes an incredible fragrance and a pleasant texture that cannot be achieved by throwing the stalks into a food processor. Good to note. Chopping lemongrass by hand to the proper consistency takes time, but if you are patient, you'll end up with a beautiful finished product. So, we will put our chopping skills to the test today. First thing that we'll do is to make the sauce, which consists of fish sauce, and some chicken stock, and some sugar. So we're going to get a small bowl and whisk that together. Okay, we have all our accoutrements now. So we have 2 tablespoons of fish sauce. Now, fish sauce, I will say, is some very weird stuff. I don't know if anybody else has used fish sauce much, but it seems to last forever. I've had this fish sauce for quite a long time, and it's fine. So 1, because it's not like it's something you use that often. You don't even have to refrigerate it. Very shelf stable. Okay. So then we have 2 tablespoons of chicken stock or water. And as you can imagine, the fish sauce is a bit stinky, but it does add a flavor that you can't get from anything else. And now just a pinch of sugar. Okay. There's a pinch. So we're going to whisk this together. until the sugar dissolves. Seems good. So we'll put that to the side. Now we are going to cut our chicken into a 1-inch cubes, and we use a mix of boneless breasts and boneless thighs. It says to use a combination, so we are using a combination. So let's cut that up into cubes. And since this is over a pound of chicken in and of itself, I'm not going to use it all, so I'm going to put some to the side to save for another time. So I'll use these 2 boneless breasts. Probably 2 boneless thighs as well. And then I'll put the rest in a bag and label it and freeze it for some other recipe down the road. Alright, so when we cut up our chicken here, we'll do a little trimming of the excess fat as well. Of course, it's hard to get every little bit of the fat off, but just do your best. My 9-year-old is very willing to try many different foods, but if he runs into just a tiny bit of fat or grizzle, it's all over. He's my biggest fan as well as my biggest critic, food-wise. And when you're cutting meat, you want to take care to cut against the grain. That way when it comes apart much easier. Of course, this you're cutting in cubes, it's not as big of an issue. But when you cut in strips, it is. Alright, we are about there. So it does take a little bit of time to pre-process your chicken, but it's worth it in the end. To not get a mouthful of nasty fat. Unless you like that sort of thing. Okay, so now we have our chicken all cut up, and we're just gonna put it aside for the moment. I want to make sure we're working with a wok. So if you've worked with the wok before, or if you've watched my shows with the wok before, you know that with the wok you're cooking at a very, very hot temperature. You have to have everything pre-prepared because it's boom, boom, boom. Got to be right on top of it all. Okay, so we will put this just to the side for a moment. Rinse our hands off, wash. Okay, we'll get a nice fresh cutting board here. And now we want to be sure we're going to thinly slice a red onion. So my red onions are very small. It says to use just one, but I am going to use two. Yes, this is a wok recipe. And wok cooking is so exciting. Let's see, it looks like we cut this in half and then thinly slice. Yeah, we'll use two. And these are still onions from my CSA Share. last week. Actually, I think the onions were from the first time I got it, almost 4 weeks ago now. And it was very exciting to win the CSA Share, but I didn't know what to do with some of the things that I got. There was too many kind of funky sprout type things that actually didn't have the best flavor, so it was hard to determine which way to use them. But if you watched the last show, after the last show, I did give my neighbor some eggs and some root vegetables. But I still have more. Okay, and now we want to chop about 2 teaspoons of garlic. Which 2 teaspoons, you know, it's not a shy amount, so I think that's probably going to be about 4 cloves when you finally chop it. So the CSA Share, Caitlin, was actually, we get a newsletter in our Clamsnet mail from, I'd have to look at it, I can forward it to you. It's from it's called Be Well MV. So I think we get it as employees of the town, and they were having a contest every month where you could win the CSA Share for the month. And so by winning, you can go and get a bag full of stuff every 2 weeks. So I had been entering, they've been doing it since probably October or November, maybe even earlier. And I'd been entering, and finally the last month that they did it was this past month. And I finally won after entering every month. But I think Nina also won at least once. So it's great, but it was interesting because it was my first experience with the CSA farm share sort of thing. And I like to cook and make things, but a half share would be much more worthwhile for me. I don't like to waste things, or like doing a share with another person or family would be more ideal, because it was just too much. Okay, so here we have our garlic. But of course it was super fun to win. And it was neat to go out to Island Grown, where they are now, which is beyond the alpaca farm. And the people that work there are so wonderful and nice. And we should totally do a program with them. That was another thing. So I was looking up more about that children's book that we were talking about earlier today, Caitlin, with Dan Santat. And I looked at his page, because I don't know if you know about my past jobs, but I used to work in the illustration industry, and so I know a lot of those people. I think I even have a sketch by him somewhere. But I thought it would be interesting to actually ask him about the how similar it is. I was trying to figure out a good way to phrase it, though that didn't sound offensive. But then I went on his page, and the very top of his page talks about doing a talk at a public library. So I was like, ooh, maybe we should just get him to do a talk for the library. Then we can find out everything we want to know. About his Inside Out-like book. Shouldn't we? I will ask him. I'll contact him and see. Why not? You know? And they both do it. The author and the illustrator do the talk for the library. Did you read the book? I know. Well, it's like the eyes are so similar to Sadness. And then the color scheme, of course, is very similar. And even the premise is, it seems similar enough, that's for sure. Did you read the book yet, or have you ordered it? Okay. Yeah, now I'm super curious to read it. And it was even featured on Good Morning America, I guess, a few days ago. They did a little interview about it. So I'm sure it's on Disney and Pixar's radar. Okay, I'm going to put the onion into just a small bowl to get it off of the cutting board, because that will go into the wok separately from these ingredients that I'm chopping now. So we have some very nice finely minced garlic here that we'll just slide over to the side. Now for lemongrass, this is the best I could do with the lemongrass. This was from Stop and Shop, the last one that they had on the shelf, the only way they sold lemongrass. And they're rather petite. Ooh, but it smells so interesting. Oh, it smells good. Okay, so we only need we need a 1/4 cup of finely minced. I don't know, I guess we're just gonna work with what we have here. That's what we can do. The vineyard's all about improvising. So, the lemongrass is really very, very fibrous. They probably have lemongrass. It comes in these little teeny things with just 2 in there. But I think they probably have maybe larger stalks at Kronig's. But I wasn't about to go to 2 stores. Not in the age of Corona. Although I am very, very excited to hear that the Up Island Kronig's is going to be reopening very soon. It's going to mean great things for the cooking show. And then I suppose before too long, the North Tisbury Farm Market will open too, which I still like to call Fiddlehead. It'll always be Fiddlehead to me. I find lemongrass so fascinating. It does smell so good. I'm obsessed with lemongrass soap too, or verbena soap. Oh, I just love that smell. Whew. It's a workout to cut through it though, I'll tell you what. So my method here of cutting it into a very finely minced granulated sugar texture is to first just slice it. Want to get every little bit I can out of it. It has a stump at the bottom, so that's as far as I can go with that. Okay, we have that step 1 done. So I'm curious, it says here to actually see page 207 about the finely minced lemongrass. So I want to see what it says about this. If it gives any tips. Oh. Okay, so here it just is sort of a glossary of the different ingredients, all of which are very fascinating. Like galangal. I also love that flavor. Lemongrass, one of the defining flavors of Vietnamese cooking. Lemongrass has an intensely lemony smell and taste. The woody, fibrous brown stalks are sold fresh in bundles at Asian grocery stores and in many supermarkets. Choose stalks that are about ½ an inch in diameter and bend easily. Avoid those that seem dry, an indication that they are old. I know, I like that too. Fresh lemongrass will keep in your refrigerator crisper for several weeks. Whole stalks and minced lemongrass can be frozen in an airtight container for several months. Avoid dried lemongrass, which is flavorless. For tips on chopping lemongrass, see page 117. All right, let's see page 117. Oh, here we go. Ooh, I might have to get out my fancy chopper. How to chop lemongrass. The texture of chopped lemongrass is important. We go through cases and cases of lemongrass each week for the restaurants, so hand chopping is not possible. But at home, it's always my first choice. First, cut the bottom ½ inch off each lemongrass stalk and trim the greenish woody top portion and discard. We didn't even have those options. We just got 2 very small stalks. Peel the outer layers from the stalk until you arrive at the firm, tender center. With a sharp knife, thinly slice the stalk into coins. Okay, we did that at least. Then run your knife through the pile of coins until you have reduced them to nubby bits. Nubby bits. You want to detect the bits of lemongrass in a finished dish. They should register on your tongue, then dissolve, leaving only the bright aroma behind. To preserve the aromatic quality of fresh lemongrass, chop it just before using. If you live in a place where lemongrass is hard to come by, ding ding, buy extra. Whole stalks can be frozen for future use. Okay, well that's good to know. I actually have, you can buy lemongrass in like a tube paste. But I don't think that lasts terribly long. I have 2 of those in my refrigerator, which I think are long past their prime. So now we're going to chop it into fine little bits and hope that it doesn't pop itself all over the place here, as it is wanting to do. Get back on the board. So once you have it cut into the little coins, it does make it quite a bit easier to chop. Was too stocky. That too. That 3. So, as it mentioned initially, it does take time to chop it down to a sort of sugary consistency. We're almost there. And actually, well, we might be close to 1/4 cup. Now, if you like to mince things, this will really be your jam here. And I do like to mince. You can get a little crazy mincing. Oh, okay. Mince until your arm gets tired. And then a little more. Okay, so that should be some delicious little flavor nuggets. So now, jalapeno chili. So you can then add a jalapeno chili. There's been a lot of jalapeno in my recipes lately. I did not see any jalapenos at the store today, so pardon me. So I have my handy dandy pickled jalapenos, which I think make a dish even better. It's my secret trick lately. So we'll just add a few of those. I don't want it to be too spicy. Then we have, in addition to that, we have a roasted chili paste which I'm going to think is similar enough to this chili garlic sauce that I have. Woo! We'll just use a little of that too. That smells strong. Then, the last thing we need to chop up is just a couple of scallions. These are also from the Farm Share. And so pretty. And these are just chopping, just slicing into rings for a garnish. And we'll get a little dish to put those in because they go in at a different time than the garlic and the lemongrass. But we want to have them prepared and ready, of course. Okay, let me grab, fish out just 2 or 3 or 4 of these jalapenos. And those you can just keep whole or sliced. Okay, so we have our garlic, we have our lemongrass, we have our jalapeno. We need to have our cooking wine handy. This is a rice cooking wine that we'll be using. And the fish sauce nearby. So get your ingredients all lined up. The chili paste, check. Scallions. Okay. We're good to go. We're ready to start. So, let's get this wok nice and hot. So, we're heating it up on high heat, and you want to heat it up until the wok takes on sort of a matte appearance. Right now it's a little shiny. We want it to be matte. And we're going to need a 1/4 cup of canola oil. So we'll get that ready. And let's see, let's shift a little bit here. Getting there. We have our chicken on hand. All right, you can see here we're starting to get a little smoking going. If you want to test it, you can take a little water. Oh yeah, it's hot. Okay, so we will add this till it is hot but not smoking. The rest of the wok is smoking, but the oil's not smoking. So give it just a moment. Okay, I see some sort of sizzle action going on in there. All right, and away we go. oil than I typically would cook with, I will say. So let's get that chicken in there. And interestingly enough, we didn't salt or pepper or anything with this chicken. Ooh, watch when you put it in, it's thick. And you want to have your spurtle close at hand. So we'll want to cook this for 3 or 4 minutes, turning occasionally. Woo-wee! So we're still on a high heat right now. So let's see, 5:49. So we're going to cook until about 5:53, until lightly browned on the sides. So the next instruction is kind of interesting. It says pour off all but 3 tablespoons of the oil from the wok. Leave the chicken in the wok. No, it's just the chicken right now that's in the wok, in the oil. So I heated up the oil and then the chicken went in it over high heat. So we leave the chicken in the wok, return the pan to medium-high heat. Okay, so the chicken stays in though. So we're about 2 minutes in on the chicken here. Give it a little stir. Just seeing a little browning so far. Hi Todd, nice to see you. And let's see, we're going to have to pour off a little bit of the oil, so find some container to pour off your oil in. So one of my most mortifying moments when I was younger, much, much younger, a teenager, was telling some story to an older woman, and I mentioned how we poured the oil down the drain, which I didn't know any better. I didn't know. And she just chastised me so much for that. Never been so ashamed. She said she would never rent to me, which of course I've never done it again. But a lot of people don't know that. You can't pour oil down the drain. Whoa, let's lock those pieces there. Okay, so here we are at 5:52. So it's really hard to tell how you're going to keep just the 3 tablespoons of oil in there. And especially because it looks like it's really combined with a lot of water from the chicken as well. But, you know, we'll do our best here. So I'm going to turn it down to the medium-high right now, which is what it wants us to put it back on when we return. you know, a good portion of it off. Okay, and now we're returning it to the medium-high heat, and we're putting in the sliced red onions. Pour dairy down the sink. See, I've never heard that. That's a total new one. Huh. Has anybody else heard that before? I wonder what that would do. Okay, so we have our medium-high here. We put in our red onions. And stir that around some for about 2 minutes. Why not dairy? I know. What, did he give a reason, Caitlin? He or she? Did the chef give a reason? Have that about a minute more or so, and we'll prepare for putting in the garlic, the lemongrass, and the jalapeno. Until softened. Just until softened. Well, they have just softened, so put in. Now it's time for the magic. All right, in goes the lemongrass and the garlic and the jalapeno. Now this for just about 30 seconds. Toss it around, mix it up. And then you'll want to have your wine ready. It'll be 2 tablespoons of the rice wine. Lemongrass a little bit, but honestly I smell a lot of onion. Okay, so now we're going to, both hands, to deglaze the pan with this rice wine, 2 tablespoons. Do you turn it up at all? Dun, dun, dun. No? Okay. There is 1. There is 2. And so we're deglazing the pan here with this. Then we want to have our fish sauce on hand. And the chili paste. Okay, let's give this a little stir. For the chili paste, we want 1 tablespoon. It's not going to fit in there. Now, I found it interesting that it didn't say to just put the chili paste into the mixture here with the fish sauce, but because it's all going in now, but it did not, and so we did not. Okay, there went in that fish sauce. Now we want a tablespoon of the chili paste. Good. Boom. And the scallions. Here are the scallions. Put those in. Now continue cooking for 1 minute more until the scallions have softened slightly and the chicken is cooked all the way through. Says not good for the drain. Okay. All right, so we're gonna stir this all around. Cook it for about a minute more. I have a feeling I'm gonna be the only one eating this. I think this is a little too advanced for the boys' palate. But you never know, I could be pleasantly surprised. It says it's okay for the drain, but it does affect the ecosystem horribly. Oh my. Interesting. What does it do? Now I'm gonna have to research this after the show. Okay, so now you want to make sure that your chicken is cooked through thoroughly. You can give a little clean up zone here. And definitely is this wild mix of flavors and smells that you're getting when you're standing over it here. And you can definitely smell the fish sauce. The fish sauce. A little bit of the onions. And just a touch of the lemongrass. I'm very curious how this will taste in the end. And it doesn't say to serve it with any rice or anything like that. But, so now I'm going to turn it off because we're done with that aspect. Now, the last part is to search for my missing ingredient here. Right in front of me, of course. Dexter will usually always try it. He's very, very brave. And sometimes he really likes it. There have been a few that he's really, really liked. Hi, Decky Lou. In fact, here he is now.
Hi.
We'll see if you want to smell it.
Where is it?
It's right here.
What is it called?
It is called lemongrass chicken. It's Vietnamese.
Yes.
Oh, well. We have initial approval. Amazing.
Hi.
Caitlin says hi, honey.
Hi.
Okay.
It kind of smells like, what is it? Kind of smells like sushi, almost like a different kind of sushi.
Interesting.
Bye.
Smells a little like sushi, he says. Okay. So, we won't reveal all the secret ingredients. Now for the garnish, we are going to chop up a tablespoon of roasted peanuts. And if you were watching last week where we made the roasted root vegetables, he is, or a chef or a food critic, one or the other. We made the roasted root vegetables last week, which were very good, but it said to cook them for like 20 minutes. I ended up having to cook those for like an hour and a half. And they were still pretty firm. It's funny how recipes can sometimes just be wildly incorrect. I don't know about the rest of you, but a lot of my personal cookbooks have little notes in the margins and recommendations, corrections. good here. So now, let's plate our meal. So it's pretty saucy. It seems like something that would be really good with some rice on the side, which I think is what I'm going to do. But for now, we'll just take a little bit. Uses up a lot of, very interesting. We've learned so much today. So sprinkle a little of those peanuts on there. And time for the taste test. I'll try to get a little of everything. Okay, it is fascinating. Really just a roller coaster of flavor in your mouth. It's really very, very interesting. It is a little spicy, I will say. It's got a little kick to it. I don't know if that's from the chili sauce or from the jalapenos, or probably from both. Yeah, rice I think would be good. I think that's my one issue with this dish, is I would like more vegetables. But I think what I'm going to do is serve some steamed broccoli on the side and then some rice, because the rice would be really good to soak up all this juice. But it's really good. I definitely would recommend it. And very, very different than your everyday cooking, for sure. Unless, if you live on Martha's Vineyard, that is definitely no restaurant has anything like this here whatsoever. Very, very unique and interesting flavors to experience every once in a while. So, thank you very much for joining me, everybody. It was wonderful to have you all here, and love the great conversation this time. It was really awesome. So please do join me next week, same time, and have a good night.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.